in the end, it's kind of clear that that's what it means. Because at the end, you think that it looks like by Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine has everything so delicately laid out, the game he's moving the pieces on, and that the Jedi are actually more shooting in the dark.
I remember seeing Dave Filoni's picture on the wall of Doucette Hall at Edinburgh University. Dave was alumni and he was depicted next to other alumni, and I think the whole point was to get the art students to look over there and be like, yeah man, maybe I could be Dave Filoni. Perhaps the picture of successful alumni made parents more easily accept paying for an art degree. And I remember looking at Dave's picture, and underneath it, it said he worked on King of the Hill, Avatar, The Last Airbender, and Star Wars, The Clone Wars. Ironically, I had seen the live-action Clone Wars film just the year prior with my little sister, and though it wasn't the best movie, it was Star Wars, and I saw it with my little sister, and that made me love Ahsoka, even though she was pretty annoying in that film. The year after that, Dave Filoni received an alumni award, and it was announced that he was coming back to university to speak to the students. This was 11 years ago in 2009, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember the show was just going into its second season, and Dave was so giddy with excitement. He wanted to share so much more than George was letting him. I also remember that his assistant was hounding him because he wanted to always sign more autographs and speak more to the audience, and he's just such a genuine down-to-earth guy, and his poor assistant just kept badgering him to move him from place to place. Dave shared the story of how a simple Pittsburgh boy moved to California, got hired on King of the Hill, then graduated to be a director on Avatar, and then eventually getting the call from a George at Lucasfilm, and then booking a meeting and sitting down with George Lucas himself for an interview. Dave's story was inspiring and cool and really down to earth. He described going to California like the journey that Frodo made to destroy the ring in Mordor, even mentioning that there were weird people in California, much like Gollum, who he normally would not associate with, but because of the lessons he had learned from Tolkien, he knew he would need them in order to survive in this unknown world. Dave's a true storyteller, and him telling the story of how he got the job at Lucasfilm was incredible and captivating and inspiring. He shared many cool things with the audience and then privately with the art students themselves, sharing a tons of different insights and tips. Needless to say, this experience made a profound impact on me, and I followed Dave's work even more closely after 2009. One of the most interesting aspects of Dave's story when he did come back to Edinburgh was him explaining that although he was learning directly from George on how to do the animated series, he was learning as though he were shooting a movie. You see, George had come from old film school and graduated from USC. He didn't actually know a ton about animation, and he treated the video and computer animation of the Clone Wars as though he were shooting an actual film. From scripting to compositing shots to the cuts, it was all done as though they were shooting with real actors on a real set. And so you might say that Dave Filoni learned film directly from George Lucas over the course of 10 years. But Dave didn't just learn about film and animation from George. He learned about storytelling, and he learned about Star Wars and the Force, and he has an intimate knowledge of this that is literally passed down directly from George. George has even said that he considers Dave to be like a son to him. And everybody in Lucasfilm understands this, including Kathleen Kennedy, but it was kind of a hard thing to explain to outsiders, normie, and corporate people at Disney. I've sort of had this feeling watching Dave grow at Lucasfilm under Disney that he is wanting to do way more, but he's also been very patient and understanding that to a lot of the people at Disney, and maybe even a lot of fans, he is just the animation guy. And so Kathy helped to make sure that Dave was on the set of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker and Rogue One. And Dave learned a lot about actually running a live action set then and there. But of course, his next graduation would be working directly with Jon Favreau and shooting and directing 2 live action episodes of The Mandalorian Season 1. And to be honest with you, both of his live action outings in Season 1 were serviceable, but didn't blow me away. It was clear that Dave was still learning and adjusting to the process of shooting live action. But his latest episode, The Jedi, the live action reveal of Ahsoka in The Mandalorian, was a masterpiece, truly transcending the form. I think it is a standalone work of art that Dave should be incredibly proud of. I also think it is indicative of many things to come. I could personally gush about The Jedi, Dave Filoni's episode, for probably hours, but I'll keep it short and concise and just explain to you that I think Dave didn't just do a great episode of television with a character like Ahsoka. He gave us a from the ground up built piece of art that not only shows us incredible sides of this character, but delivers a true mise-en-scène that should give you a feeling of this character and of the legacy of the Force. The entire episode plays out much like a Kurosawa film, with a lot of atmosphere and drama created by the lighting, created by the cuts, by the framing. It is such an interesting vibe and really does just pull out all of these little nuanced tones of badassery when it comes to the fighting between Ahsoka and Din Djarin. There is such an attention to detail in this episode that it feels like Dave spent agonizing amounts of time developing every single frame of the 40-some minutes that we witnessed. And just like he has done so many times before in animation, he created a moment within Star Wars lore that we will revisit constantly, as it is so incredible. We will want to relive it over and over again. Luke Skywalker did not think he'd be saving the galaxy when he left with Obi-Wan, and I'm sure Dave Filoni did not think that he would be saving Star Wars when he got hired to work on the Clone Wars. But just like Luke, I believe that once the realization hit Dave, he did face his fear and has stepped into his role and is now doing something that he, prior to this, would have never imagined he would actually get the chance to do. And I'm not trying to be super negative on the sequels in this video. I know many of you have watched a lot of my takes in different videos and live streams, so you know where I stand on those movies. They're serviceable, but they're the worst trilogy that we have, and I think there's just plainly a lot of missed opportunities there. But that's really the nice way to put it. I think that there are many fans that still feel very burnt by the sequels, their lack of care with legacy characters, particularly Luke Skywalker, but just in general, the lack of plan and just really a lack of passion behind this thing that we care so much about. And now, as strange as it seems, I believe Dave Filoni, the cowboy, may well have the opportunity to make a lot of this right. He may be able to create a new bedrock for Star Wars lore during this time period in its history. In the same way that Dave was able to make the prequels much better contextually with the Clone Wars show, he may be able to do the same for the sequels with animated shows and possible live action shows in the Filoni-Verse that we have been talking about for the last 9 months. And the thing that is so crazy about this, the thing that I can't stop thinking about, is the fact that this dude's journey has somewhat ironically led him to be the perfect candidate to do this. I mean, think about it. Dave was taught animation by George Lucas, but it was really live action, but they created the assets digitally. That sounds just like what they do with the volume. And Dave might actually have a leg up on how to conceptually do that process because he worked on the Clone Wars so much. He might have a leg up and actually excel and be able to do things that even other artists, directors, and writers would not be able to do with the form now that this technology with the volume exists and is so similar to the technology he used on the Clone Wars. Not to mention, he's clearly the best lore keeper that we have for Star Wars, and he also understands the nuance of these different characters. I mean, he literally is the perfect person to take the state of Star Wars that we have right now and to literally fix it, to bring back disenfranchised fans, to give them better versions of legacy characters that they love, to fill in the gaps, to make things make more sense, to bring in incredible fun characters from Legends and EU, just to give all the toys to all the boys and all the girls and have us all just happy again as Star Wars fans. It's just kind of crazy and bizarre that this guy's journey made him the perfect candidate to do it, and now he's, by all accounts, stepped into the role. But this is all just one man's opinion. I, of course, want to know what you think about it in the comments section below. If you like this video, make sure you drop a like on it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, you're definitely going to want to do that because we are dropping multiple videos a day and you are going to miss them if you are not subscribed. If you enjoy the content over here, you will absolutely love the live streams we do straight from Nerdvengers Tower Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.